I wanted to share with you a powerful story about a man named Brian Anderson. He almost didn't see the old lady stranded on the side of the road, but even in the dim light of day, he could see she needed help. So he pulled up in front of her Mercedes and got out. His Pontiac was still sputtering when he approached her. Even with the smile on his face, she was worried. No one had stopped to help for the last hour or so. Was he going to hurt her? He didn't look safe. He looked poor and hungry. He could see that she was frightened, standing out there in the cold. He knew how she felt. It was that chill which only fear can put upon you. He said, "I'm here to help you, ma'am. Why don't you wait in the car where it's warm? By the way, my name is Brian Anderson." Well, all she had was a flat tire, but for an old lady that was bad enough. Brian crawled under the car looking for a place to put the jack, skinning his knuckles a time or two. Soon he was able to change the tire, but he had to get dirty and his hands hurt. As he was tightening up the lug nuts, she rolled down the window and began to talk to him. She told him that she was from St. Louis and was only just passing through. She couldn't thank him enough for coming to her aid. Brian just smiled as he closed her trunk. The lady asked how much she owed him. Any amount would have been all right with her. She already imagined all the awful things that could have happened had he not stopped. Brian never thought twice about being paid. This was not a job to him. This was helping someone in need. And God knows there were plenty who had to give him hand in the past. He had lived his whole life that way, and it never occurred to him to act any other way. He told her that if she really wanted to pay him back, the next time she saw someone who needed help, she could give that person the assistance they needed. And Brian added, "And think of me." He waited until she started her car and drove off. It had been a cold and depressing day, but he felt good as he headed home, disappearing into the twilight. A few miles down the road, the lady saw a small cafe. She went in to grab a bite to eat and take the chill off before she made the last leg of her trip home. It was a dingy-looking little restaurant. Outside were two old gas pumps. The whole scene was unfamiliar to her. The waitress came over and brought a clean towel to wipe her wet hair. She had a sweet smile, one that was even being on her feet for the whole day couldn't erase. The lady noticed the waitress was nearly 8 months pregnant, but she never let the strain and aches change her attitude. The old lady wondered how someone who had so little could be so giving to a stranger. Then she remembered Brian. After the lady finished her meal, she paid with a $100 bill. The waitress quickly went to get her change for the $100 bill, but the old lady had slipped right out the door. She was gone by the time the waitress came back. The waitress wondered where the lady could be. Then she noticed something written on the napkin. There were tears in her eyes when she read what the lady wrote. "You don't owe me anything. I have been there too. Somebody once helped me out the way I'm helping you. If you really want to pay me back, here's what you have to do. Do not let this chain of love end with you." Under the napkin were 4 more $100 bills. Well, there were tables to clear, sugar bowls to fill, and people to serve, but the waitress made it through another day. That night when she got home from work and climbed into bed, she was thinking about the money and what the lady had written. How could the lady have known how much she and her husband needed it? With the baby due next month, it was going to be hard. She knew how worried her husband was. And as he lay sleeping next to her, she gave him a soft kiss and whispered in a soft, low voice, "Everything's going to be all right. I love you, Brian Anderson."
So this morning I want to talk about how giving and receiving tie together, how they're really the same thing. Jesus had said in his teachings about the law of giving that when you give, it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Wow, that about covers it all, doesn't it? I love that idea. I love that, and that is the truth. That story that Sue shared, is a great example of how life just gives back to you. It can't help it. This is an absolute reciprocal universe. The more we give, the more we receive. I talk about that a lot. And that was a perfect example of that. And a perfect example of the idea that we can't outgive God. We can't outgive life. We can try to give and give and give, and life is just going to continue giving right back to us. How cool is that? In reality, that whole idea of giving and receiving is very simple. It's a real simple concept. It's real easy to follow. Our work is to simply open up to opportunities in life to give and to share. To look for opportunities to be in service, to help someone in need. Maybe it's as simple as a kind word, or a smile, pat on the shoulder, a phone call, or maybe it is helping someone fix a tire. The paradoxical question arises, which is more important? Which comes first? Chicken or the egg, right? Giving or receiving, which one is first? Well, the truth is this, they coexist. They're one and the same. We cannot have giving without receiving, and we cannot have receiving without giving. They're two polarities on the same continuum, and one requires the other in order to occur. Does that make sense? And our supply for giving, our supply for receiving, all comes from within, from that same divine source, from that same divine supply. And both ideas are natural and they're essential, because giving allows others to receive and receiving allows others to give. It's a circle, it's a cycle, it's a continuum. And we can choose to break that cycle, that circle, or continue to move with that flow of energy, that flow of life. Giving is one of those things that we feel like we almost have to do, right? That urge that comes from within us that we want to give. Giving is like the need to breathe. It's a vital process of life. And there's no rule in life that says how much air you need to take in, right? The rule is whatever your capacity is, take that in and give that right back out. And the same thing is true with that giving process. Our innate need is to give away to the divine, to that divine flow, the in and the out. And when we give, it's always about the energy and the intention behind the giving that is essential. The power of anything that we give, be it time, be it talent, be it treasure, comes from the intention that we give to it and the integrity which we direct out into the world. The universe operates on this dynamic exchange, giving and receiving being different aspects of that same energy flow. And in our willingness to give, we keep the abundance of the universe circulating to us, through us, and as us. Now, we've all heard that giving and receiving are the same thing. I know we've heard that. We've heard, as you sow, so shall you reap. What goes around comes around. What you put out, you get back. What you give to the universe returns to you tenfold. All those things are true. They aren't cliches. They aren't just cliches. That's the law of attraction. That is a universal law about the flow of energy. One thing we want to be mindful about is how we're giving or how we're receiving. For instance, if you feel really tight, if you feel closed off when you're trying to give something out, that tightness is going to remain with you. And it also goes out with that gift that you're giving. And it can't help but flow out. And guess where it comes? Right back. Right? Because what we're giving out, we're getting back in. However, when we give with an open heart and with gratitude and with joy, whatever form it is that we're giving, the energy of that gift is very different. It's all about our intention behind what we're giving. And when we give with joy, that gift that we send out is filled with joy. And guess what returns right back to us? That absolute beautiful joy, once again, both to the giver and to the receiver. So in order for us to fully grasp and understand the meaning of our human existence, we must give whatever it is we have, and give so unconditionally. No strings. We get to give all that we have and do it from a place of pure joy. There was a mother I read about who wanted to teach her daughter a wonderful moral lesson. So she gave this little girl a $1 bill and a quarter to take to church. And the mother told her, you put whatever one you want into that collection plate and keep the other one for yourself. So when they were coming out of church, the mother asked the little girl which amount she had given to the church. And she said, well, I was going to put the $1 into the collection, but the man at the pulpit, he said that we should all be cheerful givers. And I knew I'd be a lot more cheerful if I gave the quarter, so I did. Can we all relate to that? We want to discover the relationship and be really open to that relationship between giving and receiving. And we do that by being in deep gratitude for what it is we do have. And as we start giving out, we start realizing just how much we do have and are in that place of gratitude. Now, what I know is we have a group of givers here. We all like to give and give and give and give and give. How many of you are really gracious receivers? Okay, yeah, I know. Isn't that interesting? And I think part of that is because we're taught when we're young, right? It's better to give than receive. And I used to always say, if everyone gave and no one received, right? Then we wouldn't have this flow of energy. And maybe that's part of the problem. Whenever we give anything, we're giving something spiritual along with it. We're giving part of ourselves. And how beautiful a gift is that? The idea of receiving, I want to really talk about that because I know it is difficult for a lot of us to be gracious receivers. And what I want to remind you of is there's no value in allowing ourselves to push those gifts away, to be embarrassed about receiving a gift from someone. We want to work on and learn how to receive those gifts joyously, cheerfully. And when we do that, we are attracting that energy to us. And isn't that, bottom line, what we want? We want that beautiful energy. And I think we tend to forget that one little important fact. And that is, there cannot be a giver without a receiver. So, how can we deny somebody the gift of giving? And I'm not talking, about $1,000 gifts here. I'm talking a gift, a compliment, a kind word. A little bit of joy. Maybe homemade candy. Thank you, by the way. I saw it back there.
Oops.
When It's gone now, I just want you to know. When you give a gift, you want that person to receive it gracefully. Why wouldn't we allow someone that same opportunity with us? And I think a lot of times we don't think of it that way. We go into that I'm not deserving kind of thing. I'll tell you how to check to see if you're a gracious receiver. Notice how you respond. Think about that for a second. How you respond to compliments even. Especially when somebody's sincere and it's a valid compliment. Do you downplay it? Do you decline it? Do you go, oh, that's nothing? No big deal? Right? We tend to do that. We struggle a lot of times to accept compliments simply because it makes us a little bit uncomfortable. When we learn total and complete self-acceptance, then we can learn to look others in the eye and say thank you. And isn't that, as a giver, what we want to hear or feel from the other person? When we are deeply grateful for every little thing that happens to us and around us, we are allowing every moment of life to be precious. We're then experiencing a deeper respect for life. Deepak Chopra suggests that we put the law of giving and receiving into effect by using 3 very simple ideas. First one is wherever you go and whoever you connect with, bring them a gift. Compliment, prayer, a smile. That's all. It's a great way, he says, to begin that process of circulating joy, of circulating that wealth and that affluence in your life and in the lives of others. It is never about one, right? It's always about we. Second thing he said is gratefully receive all the gifts that life has to offer to you. So for instance, receive the gifts of nature. Appreciate the sun. Appreciate the birds singing outside in the trees, or the beautiful mountains, or that first rain. Be open to receiving from others, and whether that's in the form of a material gift, money, compliment, prayer, whatever it is, be willing to receive that with an open heart. And third, he says, make a commitment to keep wealth circulating in your life by giving and receiving life's most precious gifts. Money's not on the list, right? Life's most precious gifts. Those are caring, affection, love, compassion, appreciation. Those are life's most important gifts. Isn't that what we want from other people more than anything? And so, that's what we want to give as well. So each time he says you meet somebody, silently wish them love, wish them laughter, wish them joy. These internal benefits are what helps us become better human beings. Human beings with more depth. So we want to be generous with those God-given gifts that we have. We want to give everything we have instead of trying to hold on, being afraid of lack and limitation. We can't outgive life. As we receive, we want to remember how we are receiving is just as important as what we are giving, what we are receiving. And we can all become greater sources in that cycle of giving and receiving by simply paying attention, by being aware, and by being open to that idea. If we experience a lack of any kind in our life, what we want to look at is what's blocking that flow. There's clearly something blocking it. And the best way to get through that block is to give. Is to give that which we're seeking. A lot of times when we get stuck in life, we feel like, oh no, now's the time I need to receive, not give. And nothing's further from the truth. When things get tight, in any area, that's the time to give. Because something needs to be loosened up. It's up to you to start looking for a way to get that flow, that divine flow, moving through you again. So, make a commitment to some kind of giving, specific to what it is you need most. Now, I'm not suggesting that you make bargains with God. I'll do this, God, and then you do that for me. That isn't what this is about. And I think we've probably all done that at one point or another. But we all gotten really desperate and said, okay, God, this is it. This time I mean it. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about bargaining at all. What I'm talking about is giving joyfully and from that very deep place within. That from that place where we are a channel of love, and allow that to flow. As we grow spiritually, we're often called upon to give and to receive at a greater, higher level. And those two, the giving and the receiving, mutually will increase because they are one and the same. To receive well, give well. It is that simple. And as you give, be open to receive. Allow others to give to you. When we give and expect nothing in return, that universal law operates in a way that you can't help but receive in return. Because there is that constant exchange of energy between you and the universe. That universal law states that what goes out must come back. Why wouldn't we ask every day, how may I be of service? What can I give in this situation? What is the next right and loving thing I can do? Perhaps your knowledge, your experience, your kind words will change somebody's life. Will touch them very deeply. Give away whatever it is you have. And you will be amazed at the abundance that returns in your life. The return will always be dependent upon what you give from your heart. No strings attached. No expectations. So give with joy, faith. Give with the confidence that you're not losing a thing, that you are completely full still. We can all give something, be it a smile, a prayer, a kind word, love, time, money, attention, forgiveness. We all have something to give, no matter what our life looks like, no matter what we think we see. We all have wonderful gifts to give and to share. Your giving can be tangible, it can be intangible. The only rule is that it comes from your heart. So this morning I want to leave you with this thought. As you practice your giving and your receiving, you make an incredible difference to others, to yourself, and to the world. So thank you so much for being here while I shared the truth as I understand it.